and only by a tiny amount. It's like okay, if you had an ear warmer that was very mild, that's your phone. That's all.
Fire in the disco. Fire in the Taco Bell. Fire in the disco. Fire in the gates of hell. Just wanna know how to keep starting fires. It's my desire. It's my desire. Don't you wanna know how we keep starting fires? It's my desire. It's my desire. Danger, danger. It's our voltage. When we touch, when we kiss. Danger, danger. It's our voltage. When we touch, when we kiss, when we touch. Danger, danger. It's our voltage. When we touch, when we kiss. Danger, danger. It's our voltage. When we touch, when we kiss, when we touch, when we kiss.
That's your phone. That's all. That's your phone. That's all.
Now, we all love our cell phones, and that is a challenge for cell phone companies that have to provide good service and be good neighbors. Early Show correspondent Debbie Turner is here to show us how they're doing it. Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning to you. Here's the cold, hard fact. People want to use their phones whenever and wherever they choose. But many communities feel that cell phone towers are just plain ugly. So some wireless providers are becoming masters of disguise.
Have you ever been driving along the highway and noticed a rather odd-looking tree sticking up above the rest? What kind of tree do you think that is?
It's a pine tree.
It's a pine tree?
It looks like it anyway.
It's not a tree.
What do you think it is?
I think it's disguised as a tree.
It should have more leaves coming down further, like a real evergreen tree.
What you're looking at is actually a cell phone tower. Many communities have decided that this is easier on the eyes than one of these.
No one really wants that visual pollution. There are certain cities that now have required all the new towers that are being built to be disguised.
Andrew Messing is the president of Larson Camouflage, a company that builds cell phone towers in a wide variety of disguises, from palm trees to water towers to flagpoles.
This is one of our saguaro cacti that's going up to the Phoenix area, and the antennas are concealed inside. They're extremely realistic. People drive by them all the time and they think they're real cacti.
Cell antennas are also being hidden inside all kinds of architecture, like clock towers and fake chimneys.
The site very much dictates how the tower will be disguised. We've done some grain silos in the Midwest because it would look funny to have a 150-foot tall pine tree.
And every antenna comes with electrical equipment, which also must be hidden. In this Colorado site, it's encased in a man-made boulder. And in Arlington, Virginia, this house has the neighborhood fooled.
Door-to-door salesmen visit this house. Free newspapers are dropped off at this house.
John Johnson works for Verizon Wireless, which built a house where no one is ever home. The inside is filled with the equipment needed to operate a traditional tower that sits in the backyard.
Why do you have really a very nice-looking house as a housing for electronics?
Well, if you look around, this is a very nice neighborhood. We wanted to be able to blend into the neighborhood and not create something that would be unwelcome.
But disguises are expensive. A tree like this can cost as much as $120,000, 4 times the price of a metal tower.
Now, do you camouflage all your cell phone towers?
If we did, you probably couldn't afford your cell phone service. But we do camouflage those ones that we need to.
And the ones they feel they need to disguise are often in communities that put up a fight and refuse to accept a traditional tower. Of the approximately 200,000 cell antenna sites in the U.S., only about a fourth are camouflaged or hidden.
Here we're at the tennis stadium, and we've disguised our cell site to look very much like one of the light poles that illuminates the stadium here.
But for many churches, the wireless problem is a blessing. This Washington congregation receives more than $1,000 a month to allow antennas to operate in their steeple.
it's sort of serendipity that we came to have this. And so I think a lot of churches would like to have it.
But of all the disguises we've seen, our favorite is this site in Staten Island, a cell phone tower made to look like a lighthouse. And it's so realistic that neighbors say it attracts tourists.
They do take photos, have people that do come up, they look at it.
The only giveaway is that it's miles from the ocean.
It's much nicer than what it could be. I mean, would you like that instead of antennas just showing up? Oh, it's beautiful. It's outright beautiful.
And you guys, you know what? With text messaging and video streaming on the rise, wireless companies will continue to be very busy building more towers. And if they do it the way they hope to do it, you won't even notice them.
So is it only the new towers that are going up that look so pretty? It's not like they're taking old existing.
Yes, they're not retrofitting older ones. Usually they're putting up towers in communities, neighborhoods, national parks where people don't want to see a big metal pole, so they're disguising.
But they want their service.
But they want their service, all right? It's sort of the catch-22.
All right.
Putting up towers in communities, neighborhoods, national parks where people don't want to see a big metal pole, so they're disguising.
But they want their service.
But they want their service, all right? It's sort of the catch-22. Catch-22.
More than 2/3 of Americans have cell phones, but there's long been a question: does heavy cell phone use hurt human health? More than 2/3 of Americans have cell phones, but there's long been a question: does heavy cell phone use hurt human health? Lindsay Davis reports on a major new study which for the first time shows cell phones do seem to have some mysterious effect on the brain.
Some are calling the study a landmark event in our understanding of how cell phones affect the human body. 47 participants had cell phones placed on their left and right ears. One cell phone was activated but muted, the other was turned off. After 50 minutes, the researchers took PET scans of the subjects. Look at what they found. The image on the left shows what happened when the cell phone was turned on. The most active areas are in red. Notice the upper right part of the brain. That's the area closest to the antenna. Compare that with this image on the right of the same subject when they had their cell phones turned off. The researchers were hoping to determine if the radiation from the cell phones had any physiological impact at all.
I confess that after the findings, I changed my behavior. So now I use it on a speakerphone. I just put a wire on my earphones.
For years, studies have tried to link cell phones and cancer, but they've been inconclusive. Experts say this new study offers perhaps the first real step in the search for an answer.
This is a study that is interesting and will almost certainly provoke additional studies.
We have a responsibility to investigate whether there are or there are not long-lasting consequences from repeated stimulation after 5 or 10 years of cell phone exposure.
CTIA, the Wireless Trade Association, told us the leading global health organizations have overwhelmingly indicated that wireless devices are not a public health risk. Still, an editorial accompanying the study said that the findings warrant further investigation.
And it sure gets your attention.
Still, an editorial accompanying the study said that the findings warrant further investigation.
And it sure gets your attention.
I confess that after the findings, I changed my behavior.
And it sure gets your attention.
Is radiation from cell phone towers a clear health hazard to citizens? Yes, say many individuals who've been diagnosed with cancer and who live in close proximity to cell phone towers. But the government is focused on the situation and has set a deadline for radiation from cell towers to be cut down by 10% by September. But is there still a clear health risk to citizens? That's our big focus this evening on India Decides.
Just a year back, Sanjay and Pramod Kashliwal led normal, healthy lives in Jaipur. Today, both are fighting for their lives after being diagnosed with brain cancer within 4 months of each other. Was this a bizarre coincidence, or is there a direct link between their condition and the 3 cell phone towers which have been installed just a few feet away from their house?
Then I filed an application under RTI to find out if these towers were authorized. They're very categorically written in that reply to my RTI letter that these are unauthorized. And then I met Mr. Milind Devda in Delhi, who's Minister for DOT. And there I was told that if these are unauthorized, they have to be removed. Yet no action taken by the government.
In just the last 1 week, the Delhi High Court has taken cognizance of 2 petitions made by citizens with concerns on cell phones and tower radiation. The court wants government agencies to take steps to reduce health risks from these tower radiations, respond to the petitioner's plea. The court also wants to know should companies that run cell phone towers display warnings. Cell phone operators in the country say India is well within the prescribed global standards for emission.
So nothing that we've seen from a credible, scientifically based study or analysis. We hear anecdotal evidence, but nothing that is scientifically based. And this is consistently what we've been hearing from the World Health Organization, ICNIRP, all of the credible governmental bodies have consistently said the same thing. No credible evidence.
But Matthew's views are questioned by those convinced of the dangers. They say the WHO study in 2000 shows that those who use cell phone for 2 hours a day have a risk of brain tumor. The Cell Phone Association of India says the study is non-scientific. Critics say India adopts radiation norms specified by International Commission on Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection, which are outdated and don't account for conditions such as cancer. Cell phone operators say the UK Public Health Agency report this year concluded there is no credible evidence to suggest any correlation between radiation from towers and mobiles on human health. So is this unnecessary public panic? Or are we all at risk? It clearly depends on who you ask. Preeti Agarwal, a resident of Delhi's posh defence colony, was worried about headaches and sleepless nights. Now she carries a radiation detector.
My mother was here, I had to send her back because I can't risk her life. All the time the radiation is so high, if you have seen the meter yourself, every corner of my house is at danger level. If I can't live in my house at peace or comfortable in my own house, where do I go?
The point debated all around is that not all mobile phone users get cancer, but extensive usage and greater exposure can lead to several diseases including cancer. The government now needs to take strict action to set several minds at rest.
Sylvia's mother says Sylvia's busy, too busy to come to the phone. Sylvia's mother says Sylvia's trying to start a new life of her own. Sylvia's mother says Sylvia's happy, so why don't you leave her alone? And the operator says 40 cents more for the next 3 minutes. Please, Mrs. Avery, I just gotta talk to her. I'll only keep her a while. Please, Mrs. Avery, I just wanna tell her goodbye.
So there's no concern whatsoever with the radiation that's caused by those things?
No, first of all, when people say radiation, there's just like they're conflating this, term from like nuclear, bombs, and like technically we are currently bathed in radiation right now.
This table has radiation, right?
Everything produces radiation. Everything's emitting photons all the time. So it's just a question of what wavelength, and if you have a very short wavelength or high frequency photon, that is capable of causing DNA damage. But we're talking about like ultraviolet and beyond. Your phone's not even close. So, yeah. Photons that's emitting, the most they can do is slightly warm up your ear. And only by a tiny amount. It's like okay, if you had an ear warmer that was very mild, that's your phone. That's all. It's emitting photons at a frequency that is a frequency that is not going to cause DNA damage.
So
don't worry about it.
What concerns people is
sleep
the
easy
unknown.
at night. Don't worry about your phone. It's fine.
David Icke does not believe you. He's doing backflips right now. You fucking chill. So what concerns people is the unknown, right? They hear about 5G and then they hear about radiation and they're like, wait a minute, is this safe? What are we doing? Are we just ruining everything? Are we ruining?
No, it's fine.
Fine.
Totally
No
fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now I feel good about my 5G phone.
Don't worry about your phone. It's fine.
David Icke does not believe you. He's doing backflips right now.
Yeah. Now I feel good about my 5G phone.
So is this unnecessary public panic? Or are we all at risk?